Hello and welcome to Nyam Nyam. Let's get spooky with these Halloween cupcake designs. Get some chocolate cupcakes, pipe on whipped cream of various colours, stick on googly eyes, and there you have some monsters. For our next design, we've got an orange cupcake, piping on orange buttercream and sticking on an Oreo cookie designed as a bat. Then get another orange cupcake, pipe on chocolate buttercream, spoon on some cocoa powder, add an RIP jelly and a worm jelly and place some stone chocolates around. It looks just like a grave. Finally, we've got a pink cupcake and we're cutting a hole in the middle, scooping out the inside so we can add strawberry jam. Cover it with light pink buttercream. Then pipe some more in a pattern which looks like brains. Stick on a couple of googly eyes and give it a squeeze. And there we have 3 deliciously spooky cupcake designs. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to Nyam Nyam. Let's make some Halloween witch hat cupcakes. So much fun and super spooky. Start with 1 pack of cupcake mix, ready-made, bought from the store, or you can make your own. Let's add 180 millilitres of water into that, 90 millilitres of sunflower oil, and 3 eggs. Just whisk it all up with an electric whisk. Makes the whole process much easier and faster. And then spoon your mixture into your cupcake holders. We want to fill each holder about 2/3 of the way, giving room for the cakes to rise. Once those are all filled, we're going to bake this in the oven at 180 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. When they're ready, just let them cool and meanwhile, prepare the decoration. We're rolling out some black fondant icing. Now using a cookie cutter, we're going to cut out 3 circles. Now cut some chunks of black fondant icing and roll them out into cone shapes. Chopping off the end and bending it over. We want 3 of these, and using a touch of water as glue, we just stick them onto our circles. Can you see our witch hat formed? Fantastic! Now let's get some coloured fondant icing. Starting with purple, we're going to cut out a thin strip. Do the same with orange fondant icing. And then green. Now get some white fondant icing and cut it into squares. We want 3 of these. Excellent! Again, using water as glue, we're going to stick on our colourful fondant icing so it looks like a ribbon around the witch's hat. And then stick your white fondant square in the middle. Pressing it down. And a black fondant square, even smaller, in the middle of that. It looks like a buckle. Now let's make our buttercream frosting, starting with orange, so just add your food colouring and give it a stir. Pop that into a food piping bag. Squeeze it down to the bottom, ready to pipe. We're doing the same with green food colouring and purple to match the ribbons on our witches' hats. And then just pipe them onto the top of your cupcakes, starting with green using a serrated edge nozzle. Now we're doing a smooth purple. And let's do a crinkly orange. Then just stick on your witches' hats. Excellent! Look at that! 3 witches' hats! Amazing! Super easy, fun to do, get the kids involved, and don't forget to enjoy eating your delicious Halloween witch hat cupcakes. Yum! Hello and welcome to Nyam Nyam. Let's make monster cupcakes. Awesome! Well, it's very easy. We're going to start with 1 pack of cupcake mix. Pour it into a mixing bowl. Then we're going to add 180 millilitres of water, 90 millilitres of sunflower oil, and 3 eggs. Then you just need to whisk it all together, and that's your cake mixture. Fill your cupcake cases with the mixture. Fill each case 2/3 of the way. Now stick those in the oven and bake at 180 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. And let's decorate. We're going to roll out some blue fondant icing and cut out some small circles. Using a little bit of icing in the middle, we're going to stick on a white chocolate button to each blue circle. And now use some red icing with a thin piping nozzle to pipe on some veins. Yep, you guessed it, we're making spooky monster eyes. Now we need some black icing for the pupils. Pop in some cocktail sticks. That is so we can attach the eyes to the cupcakes once they're all ready to go. Now get some orange fondant icing and roll that out nice and thin. Use a little flour so it doesn't stick to the surface. Cut out a circle. Using icing, stick on your white chocolate button. And then add some black icing in the middle for the pupil. And again, attach it to a cocktail stick. Now we're going to roll some blue fondant icing. This is going to wrap around a cupcake. We're cutting out a parallelogram. Right, let's get some black fondant icing. We're going to cut out a circle from that and then slice it in half, using 1/2 for the mouth of the monster. Just get a little bit of water, dab it on, and stick it onto the blue parallelogram. Remove your cupcake case. Paste some buttercream icing around the sides. And stick on your fondant. Perfect! Using white icing, we're going to create some fangs. And now fill with blue icing in the middle. We're using a very interesting piping nozzle here, which makes the icing look like hair. And let's stick in our eyes. This blue monster is going to have lots of eyes. Now let's get some orange fondant icing and make another parallelogram. This is going to wrap around a cupcake for our second monster design. Again, cutting a circle out of some black fondant icing. And this time we're making a crescent moon shape. This monster's going to be smiling. Dabbing some water on there, sticking it onto your orange parallelogram. Buttercream icing goes around the edges of your cake. And just sticking it on. Piping on our icing teeth. And then some orange buttercream icing in the middle. Sprinkling on some crunchy orange topping. And attaching our giant monster eye. I say, look at that. Amazing! 2 very different and very scary monster cupcakes. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to Nyam Nyam. We've got some Ghostbuster cupcakes. Fantastic! Let's start with 1 pack of cupcake mix. It's so easy, you've just got to add a few ingredients. Starting with 180 millilitres of water, then 90 millilitres of sunflower oil, and 3 eggs. Give it a whisk. Awesome. Spoon it into your cupcake holders. We're using green holders to match the slime we're going to make in a minute. Yep, edible slime. Bake those in the oven at 180 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. Put those aside to cool, and meanwhile on a frying pan pour in 3/4 of a cup of caster sugar and 2/3 of a cup of lemon juice. Whisk it while it's heating until all the sugar has dissolved. We're going to pour that mixture into 2 beaten eggs. Keep beating. And then pour the whole lot back into the frying pan. We have to keep stirring at this point as the mixture will thicken, and we're adding green food colouring as we go. We can judge the colour according to what we need and just stir constantly until it's very thick. And it looks like slime! Amazing! Let's just pour that into a small bowl. Sugar slime, who would have thought? Cover with some cling film and chill for 2 hours. Now for the decoration, we've got to do our Ghostbuster logo. It's a little bit intricate, but definitely worth it. We have got some tracing paper which we've put over a logo which we've printed off the internet, and we're using a piping bag to pipe on white icing onto the ghost. We're going to do this a few times because we want 1 for each of our cupcakes. Next, we're going to pipe on red icing to do the no entry sign. We need a rather thin piping nozzle for this. Very carefully piping it on. Again, repeat with all the others, and once it's set, we're going to use a black food ink pen to just draw on the facial features of the ghost. Excellent. And repeat for all the other ones. Brilliant! Let's get our cupcake and cut out a little hole in the middle. We're using a food piping nozzle to do it. Or you could use an apple corer or simply a knife. Once you've done that for all your cupcakes, it's time to get your slime. Spoon it into a piping bag and pipe it into the holes. Ooh, gooey gorgeousness. Now we've got some marshmallow fluff, which we're spooning into another food piping bag, and we're going to just pipe that on to cover our slime. You could, of course, use buttercream icing or anything else you like, but we do love marshmallow fluff. And then just drizzle on the rest of your slime over the top. And finally, stick on your Ghostbuster logos. Amazing! Look at those. Who you gonna call? Ghostbuster Cupcakes! Hello and welcome to Nyam Nyam. Ooh, we've got some spooky Halloween cupcakes in store for you today. Excellent. Let's start with the green one. We add 1 pack of cupcake mix to a mixing bowl, plus 180 millilitres of water, 90 millilitres of sunflower oil, and crack in 3 eggs. Give it a good whisk. Excellent! Now let's spoon it into our cupcake holders. We've got green ones! Bake those at 180 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes, and they'll come out looking something like this. Set those aside to cool and let's make some more cupcakes. This time we're adding green food colouring to the same mixture we prepared earlier. Lovely bright green. Just perfect for Frankenstein. We're spooning that into our cupcake holders. And again baking them at 180 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. Time to decorate, starting with blue fondant icing. Just flour a chopping board and roll out your blue fondant icing till it's nice and thin. Then we're going to cut out a small circle, add a little bit of icing and stick on a chocolate button. We're using a white chocolate button because we want to add some red icing to make it look like veins for our eye. We're going to stick on a green sweet and use some black icing for the pupil. Excellent! Let's get a couple more white chocolate buttons and put on our red icing as veins. Again, sticking on a green sweet in the middle. We're using Smarties. And some black icing for the pupils. Brilliant! Now roll out some black fondant icing. We want to cut this up to make a rectangle. Now let's get our buttercream icing, so easy to make. It's just butter and icing sugar. We're adding in some green food colouring. We want to match our green cupcakes. Wow, look at that. Just spoon it into your piping bag. Ready to pipe on top of your cupcakes. We've got a very interesting nozzle on our piping bag which makes the icing come out looking kind of like fur. Yes, a nice hairy monster. Excellent! Just fill in the gaps. Stick on your big eye. And using some black icing, we're going to do the mouth and an eyebrow. And some white icing to make some scary monster teeth. Brilliant! Now for our next design. We are making purple buttercream icing, this time using purple food colouring. Ooh, deep purple. Put that into your piping bag. This time we're using a smooth nozzle. Before you start piping that on, we're going to get our plain coloured cupcakes we made in the beginning, cut one in half. Using some icing as glue, stick on that half to a full cupcake. Now we're going to pipe on our dark purple icing around the edge. Do a few rings. Then on the top, squiggle it around a bit so it kind of looks like brains, and then stick on that black rectangle of fondant icing you cut out earlier. That bit is going to be the base for the facial features. So let's just pipe around that, covering the rest of the cupcake. Lovely. And using some white icing as glue, we're going to stick on our white chocolate button eyes we made earlier. Excellent! Spooky. Now let's add a couple of eyebrows using the black icing. We need a thin nozzle for that. And there you have it. 2 absolutely scary Halloween cupcakes. A monster and a Frankenstein. Ooh! Welcome to Nyam Nyam. We're making Spider-Man cupcakes. Awesome! Start by mixing together 120 grams of butter with 120 grams of sugar, 2 eggs, and 120 grams of flour. Using an electric whisk to make it that much faster. Getting rid of any lumps, of course. And your mixture is ready, but we need to add a couple more things. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract for a lovely flavour, and some red food colouring. Give it a whisk. And it's ready to pop into our cupcake holders. Just spoon it in. We want it to fill about 2/3 of each case. Then bake those at 180 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. They're going to look something like this. Brilliant colour. Right, time for the decorations. We're going to dust some icing sugar onto a surface and roll out some red fondant icing. Roll it out to be about 1/2 inch thick and then get a round cookie cutter and cut out 3 circles. These circles are the perfect size to put on top of our cupcakes. So using some buttercream icing as glue, you can just stick them on. Pressing it down with your fingers, smoothing it out. Perfect! Now using some black writing icing, we're going to draw on a spider's web. First of all, do a cross. And then some more lines going through that. Excellent. Then let's go around. And that's a brilliant looking spider's web. I think we need to do one more thing. Let's add some spooky eyes using white writing icing. Now that's really looking very Spider-Man-y, don't you think? Look at that! Amazing! Spider-Man cupcakes. Why not give it a go? Hello and welcome to Nyam Nyam. What have we got in store for you today? Creepy finger cupcakes. Ew! Tastes good though. Perfect for any creepy occasion. Right, we need a mixing bowl, 115 grams of room temperature butter and the same amount of caster sugar. Whisk it all together. Yep, we're using an electric whisk today. Way easier. There, now that's all light and fluffy. You can get your spatula and just scrape the sides of the bowl so all the mixture is in the middle. And time to crack in your eggs. One by one, we're adding 3 eggs. Medium-sized eggs will do. 115 grams of self-raising flour goes into that and whisk it all up again. Perfect. Now, here's the fun part. We're going to add in some green food dye. Give it a lovely slime look. You might need to add a bit more if you feel like it's not dark enough or bright enough to your liking. Making sure that's perfectly mixed and wonderfully smooth. It's time to put it into our cupcake holders. Ready to go in the oven at 150 degrees centigrade for 12 to 15 minutes. And there you go, super quick to bake. Time for the decoration. We need some fondant icing. We're using white with green food dye. This is going to take quite a bit of mixing. Brown food dye goes in there too. This is to make your scary, creepy fingers. So using your hands, just mould the shape of a finger. It doesn't have to be a perfect sausage shape because if you imagine a real finger, it's got the knuckle and the bones. So a little bit bumpy here and there is good. Indent for the nail. Right, add in some detail using a knife. These small things make all the difference, you know. We're using a diced almond for the nail. Wow, look at that, that's really effective. And using a paintbrush, we're just painting on a little bit of brown food dye for a finishing touch. Some red icing goes on there for their blood. Ew. Whose fingers do you think these are? Maybe Frankenstein? Maybe a zombie. So using an apple corer, we're just taking out the centre of the cupcake and sticking in some strawberry jam. When you bite into this, it's going to be like oozing blood. Cover that in buttercream frosting. If you use a piping bag, you can get it on nice and neatly. There you go. A little bit of extra blood. You can even use some jam. Let it drip down the sides there. And stick on your finger. And your creepy finger cupcake is ready to serve. Can't wait to see the look on the faces of your party guests. See you next time for more creepy Nyam Nyam recipe ideas.